What's up, folks? I'm Odd, by the way, and welcome back to the Bootleg Pokemon Challenge, as I've been calling it, I guess. It is episode 10! Yay! I've been doing something consistently for a good while, actually, so I'm pretty proud about that, and we still got a ways to go in my bag of Bootleg Pokemon. I think there's like 75? No. So 73. Because I got one extra, and I got 72 originally. So, 73, I believe. We've gone through quite a few. Through 10 episodes, like 9 episodes, I guess, is 27. Because we do 3 for each episode. So, yay! If you haven't seen the rest of the series, you definitely don't need to. I just draw a couple of random Pokemon out of this bag, and they're little bootlegs, so they look weird. And sometimes I inspire myself from the designs themselves, or just decide to basically give the determined Pokemon by this kind of a makeover of sorts, just like making a Pokemon OC with a different kind of trait than usual. Obviously, Pokemon are pretty similar to each other altogether, so it's fun to go in and like make new designs for them. So that's what I do for this, and I just use this bag as a means of picking out Pokemon that I wouldn't usually. So, and again, I inspire some of the designs based off of the weird bootlegged nature of these critters, and it's fun to look at them because they're so goofy. But at that, let's just draw our first selection, or pull, or roll, or whatever. I'll get my first selection here. Here. Ooh! Oh no. It's Hypno. Enhance. It's not bad looking. His face is off-center. His everything's off-center. It's bad. Never mind. Okay. Hypno is definitely the creep of the Pokemon world. But, you know, maybe it doesn't intend to be. Unsure. The Pokédex entry kind of ruined it for me for a good while. I was like, oh, it's a cute little, like, tapir friend from Drowsy into Hypno, and like, and it's like, it steals children by hypnotizing them. It's like, wait, why? For some reason, Drifloon never got that for me. I guess maybe because it seemed more innocent. This is deliberate, okay? You look like a man. Not cool. Alright, next selection. Oop. Ooh! Oh, it's... Dino? Is that the name of this first step? Enhance? It's just red! It's just all red with a blue mouth. What is this? The model doesn't look all that bad, but the paint job could definitely use some work. Sorry, the dog's freaked out, so I just stopped for a second. Okay, final selection for today. We've got an interesting assortment so far. Definitely not a lot related between the two of them. Okay, final selection. Yeah. Oh, it's Mewtwo. Enhance. This isn't a bad looking Mewtwo. It's kind of just like plain. He's missing a lot of detail. But I mean, overall, definitely not a bad looking figurine. It's just like maybe the colors are off. I think the colors are definitely off. It looks more like Mew this way, because aren't they usually purple? It's much more like fleshy, which isn't great. But hey, cool. We got an interesting assortment of characters here. Another legendary, which I never know what to do with. Gen 5 Pokemon, I believe, and Gen 1, right? Yeah. And nothing in relation between the two of them. I guess these two are psychic types, but that's not anything, so yeah. I'm gonna figure these 3 out, and I will show you what I found, what I decided to do in speedhand voiceover. See you there. So we're starting off with Dino, or Dino, I guess, actually. I've been informed that this is kind of like the German numbers 1, 2, and 3 1, 2, and 3 for the heads. I definitely didn't realize that the name was spelled with an E, so that was probably part of it, but I realized when I searched this Pokemon up. Another Gen 5 Pokemon that I kind of slept on because I weirdly just haven't played a lot of Gen 5. I'm making my way through it now, slowly. The English naming has got to be based off of the Flintstones dog, though, right? Like, it's actively a dinosaur dog. It even barks in its animation. This line, but especially Hydreigon, really reminds me of, like, sock puppets. Like, you look at this line and tell me that those mouths don't look like their hands, too, and that they're covered with, like, little socks, and they're just going... Rah, 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 rah. Also, is it supposed to be a flower? Like, polyploidy? Like, it's starting with one bud, then two, and then there's a flower in the center? Like, its name kind of sounds like hydrangea in its final step. Regardless, I felt like the sock puppet design would kind of suit this Pokemon, so I let myself be inspired by the weird red of the figurine and made a dino that looked kind of like a sock monkey. If you somehow haven't seen them, sock monkeys are like the original upcycled toy made out of two socks, where the heel makes the sort of mouth and muzzle area. The really iconic ones, the ones that are usually sold, have red open mouths on a white muzzle. They're also gray, but because Dino just has the two colors, I just kept the palette with red and white. Fittingly, I think I named this girl Sock. I don't know if there's a word for, like, ginger animals besides ginger. Like, there's leucism, which is more like blonde and some sort of, like, pseudo-albino, almost. But is the orangey-red ginger trait just another variant of that or something different? I tried looking it up, but I didn't quite know how to. Like, if you were inspired to become a real-life Pokemon professor and know a little more about weird biology like that, then let me know. I do love a good research rabbit hole. Regardless, Sock, she's very pretty. Okay, so there's nothing going on in that head. Just none. But she's a very good girl nonetheless. Next up, we have the Hypno. Like I said earlier, Hypno has always kind of skeeved me out since I first saw its Pokédex entry, but hey, I can be all one for a creepy vibe. I thought about ways that I could maybe incorporate it instead of trying to soften or hide it. The neck ruffle kind of gave me like a distinguished vibe, so I thought a tuxedo patterning might be fun. It's giving the Butler did it, which I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I saw a short forever ago pointing out that Butler came from bottling and they were in charge of the wine cellar. And, like, if you're the owner of an estate with a wine cellar that needs a butler, it makes sense that you would have to, like, they would have to be deeply trusted because they are taking care of probably some of your most expensive and consumable items. And then that makes sense as to why they'd be essentially the manager of all other services in the house, which they usually were. So the introduction of that now cliche twist of the butler did it in murder mysteries, that makes so much more sense as to why it would be, like, scandalous. Just one of those things that I feel like has been lost to the context of time. The butler isn't just some random, like, mistreated, begrudged servant. They're like the assistant manager. Tangents aside, I posed this guy, like, so that his little pendulum looks like a monocle as he holds it up, and I named him Moriarty. Looking at him now, I don't know how I also didn't see that this is my incidental Pokemon version of Batman's the Penguin, but I still like Moriarty better for the whole murder mystery sort of context that I decided this Pokemon randomly has. Moriarty is the scheming villain's Pokemon, who's really there for aesthetic more than anything, sort of like a fluffy white cat. Or is he? Maybe, as the psychic type, he's the one controlling everything. We may never know. Finally, we have the Mewtwo. I mentioned this before, not all that long ago. I think it was in the Suicune episode, like 1-2 episodes ago, that doing this treatment to Legends is weird to me, but I feel like I can make it make sense with Mewtwo's lore. That being said, I definitely spent the most time trying to figure out what exactly I wanted from this design. I started thinking of a sort of a beta Mewtwo. No, not like that. Like a prototype. It's basically almost canon that Ditto resulted from the first attempts at cloning Mew, right? But after Team Rocket removed the ability to transform to sort of like stabilize its DNA and just decided to make the world's strongest psychic type, I can only assume that there were some other iterations then, too. At least that's my reasoning behind this design, okay? Initially, I thought of like almost a Mew 1.5, sort of a hybrid between the two, but I couldn't quite get that one the way that I wanted. Instead, I kind of went for the weird, like, fetal, like, nature of Mew and decided to lean into more of a conjoined or parasitic twin vibe. This was an attempt at Mewtwo that had some sort of co-dominance going on with the shiny variant and the regular, and started to split, which happens with monozygotic twins, by the way. Identical twins, who come from one egg and share 100% of their DNA, can have two different phenotypes or physical traits show up that would have been combined if they hadn't split, effectively. Pretty famous case of it with twin sisters, identical in DNA, but one looks black and the other white because they're mixed race. Crazy stuff. I don't know how shinies work genetically, but I guess this is assuming they come from a recessive gene, or maybe Mew's DNA is just being weird again, I don't know. The point is, I use it as an excuse to make this half-split Mewtwo with two obviously different colors. Their arms and legs are partially split off, and it forms a similar look to Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, which is what I wound up naming this Mewtwo variant, the Vitruvian Mewtwo. I also nicknamed them Da Vinci because of that as well. Da Vinci was sort of cast aside when they weren't powerful enough and sort of slipped out under the radar before anyone in Team Rocket caught on. They don't hate their supposed superior form, but they definitely feel inadequate by comparison, despite being a fairly competent psychic type. Two voices ring out from their head, presumably the failed twin, but they don't know which is truly Da Vinci. They both are. Neither is. The two voices don't really have conflicting thoughts, just different tracks and maybe a slightly different manner of speaking. But their sum is Da Vinci, whatever that means. Alright, those are my Pokemon for this week. This was definitely the assortment of all time. I've mentioned before that I don't usually have a deep connection to a lot of the Pokemon that I randomly select initially, but today that felt especially true. I didn't even really know how I felt about these designs until I sort of let them settle and wrote some of the lore bits near the end of their segments there. Of all of these, I feel like I should give Dino some more love in the future. Being a pseudo-legendary in Gen 5, I don't think that I had much experience playing with it before, but it's a dinosaur puppy! That's like right up my alley. The weird Muppety evolutions are pretty cute too. Da Vinci was an interesting prospect as well. I love playing around with the lore of Gen 1, and I feel like I could go on and on about the possibilities of unstable Pokemon experiments, but maybe another day. At that though, let me know what other art or design challenges you'd like to see me do in the future. I've been trying to alternate between this series and other art stuff every week, so if you're into that, be sure to subscribe and to get updates. I post at least once a week on Speed Paint Saturday, but I'll leave this here, and I'll see y'all next time.